All right, welcome everybody. It is 3 o'clock, and we will be recording this session. So for those members who are not able to make it, we'll be sending this out. First and foremost, wanted to thank everybody for being here and apologize that it's being done solely via Zoom. It's just simply a timing issue with where the Finance Committee and the board dates fell this year. And as you may or may not know, we have to get you this information by December 1st. And instead of foregoing kind of a live presentation that we've been doing over the years, and we think members have been enjoying it, and it's been successful, we thought we'd do it via Zoom. So no matter where you were throughout the country, you'd be able to kind of see where we're going for 2026 and enjoy your family, hopefully at the same time. So really appreciate everybody being here and taking the time.
So, Desi, why do we love member forums?
Well, as we talk about each year over the past few years, we've really done our darndest to try to continue to enhance transparency throughout the community and have these discussions. Trust is something that's really important to management, the board, and our committees, and building that trust with the community. And we want you to be engaged. We want you to understand what's going on in the community, how decisions are being made, and continuing to engage the community. So again, thank you for being here. And if you're watching it after the fact, thanks for watching it.
Thank you to the Finance and Facilities Committee members, chaired by Kenny Smith and Bob Campbell. These members here that you're seeing on your screen right now, they spend time volunteering to support this community and decisions as we move forward, and worried about the financial health and really driving change long term.
And we're actually joined by Bob Campbell and Chris Hunt here in the boardroom as we speak. So they'll be able to be here to answer questions as we go through this as well.
Thank you to the board for all you do to be fiduciaries for this community. So Desi, let's take a review of 2025.
Let's do it. I just want to thank the Finance Committee and Nick, the new quarterly financials. Nick, do you want to talk about these? These are posted online, and I think the committee and Nick have just done a spectacular job of enhancing these for your.
Yeah, thank you to Bob and Kenny Smith for, if you haven't read one of the quarterly financials yet, if you read their letters, it goes in depth to all of the financial aspects of operations for this community. Some of the early survey feedback that we got from community members is that they felt like financial processes or financial information wasn't transparent enough. And I think we've upped the bar this year with the quarterly financial statements that have gone out. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please go and read them on the website. We hope they're easy to read and all the information that you're looking for is in one place. But obviously, there's 1,000 more people that live in this community, and sometimes it might not answer the question that you had, and just reach out. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure your questions are answered and you feel confident in how the association's managed. So please reach out to me, reach out to Desi. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions about financials. A little bit about 2025, if you haven't had a chance to read these yet. We are favorable to budget, both from an operating perspective and a capital project perspective. So operations were about $250,000 better than budget through the third quarter. Some of the risk there is the new guest policy that we implemented for the fourth quarter and opening the golf course. We think that we can maintain that $250,000 and carry it forward to the end of the year, which would be a great win for the community. Capital projects, all favorable budget at this point in time. Like I said, if you have some time, go check out the quarterly financial statements. I don't want to give it all away because then you won't read the quarterlies. So thanks for tuning in and reading those, by the way.
But while we're at it, Nick, I just want to send out a quick thank you to the subcommittee in charge of the golf project, Bob Campbell, Steve Yamasaki, and thank you, Ken Alterman. Can't forget Ken. Sorry, Ken. As well as a big shout out to Kevin Jennings, who's been your finance liaison for the lower level clubhouse, excuse me, as well as Kenny Smith, who's been your liaison for the landscape projects that we've been doing around property. So they are making sure that everything's audited and up to date and that your money's being spent thoughtfully.
So before we get into dues for next year, we thought it'd be important to just go over the process and how budgeting works. So Desi, can you walk us through how the budgeting process works?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things. I want you to know we take your money really seriously, and the way it works is very similar on both sides. So from an operational standpoint, throughout the year, as you can imagine, each of our department heads, our committees, and myself and other executive team members, we get your feedback. We hear your feedback. We get feedback from individual members as well as committees. And what we do is we take that feedback, and then what I do is I ask every department head to put together in writing their experience that they're looking for the next fiscal year. And that experience, I use this as an example sometimes, but maybe Andy down in Gulf wants to do Dom Perignon at the Valet when you arrive. And he would put that into his document and he would say, hey, Desi, I want to have Dom Perignon, and here's the cost associated with that upgraded level of service. All the department heads will do that. And then what Nick and myself and other members of the team will do is we will kind of look at that once we roll up all of these budgets, and we'll look at what makes sense. Obviously, Dom Perignon at the Valet doesn't make a lot of sense, most likely for the cost. And so those kind of things are taken out. And then we look at the budget, trying to get it to a place where that your experience is what our expectations are for 2026 based on the feedback that we've gotten. Then what we do is we make sure that the department heads have the resources they need in order to execute that project. We'll present that to the finance committee as well. Finance committee members are part of this process kind of throughout, and then we get their approval, and as well as the board's approval, and then we come to you to let you know. And similar from a capital standpoint, we'll get your feedback throughout the year. We also have our asset study that has all of our assets for a 20-year period. 30, excuse me, 30-year period rolled up. And what the department heads do during the capital process is they will look and see if something that has been fully depreciated and is on that study, if it's something that does need to be replaced, or if it's something that potentially can be pushed off for another year because it still has life, right? If something still has life, we're not looking to replace things that still have life in them. A great example of that might be a pump, right? A pump on the golf course. We might wait until that pump has gone to the end of its life, or even has broken completely before replacing it. And so we might push that off or use emergency capital for those type of units. Or there's all sorts of different nuances that go into that, but we'll take that. We'll make sure that the department heads and members have their needs based on the feedback we've gotten. We'll take into consideration our revenue expectations for the next year, and then we'll present that to the finance committee as well as the board coming up here in December for their approval, and then look forward to the capital forum coming up in January.
Yeah, one of the great tools that we implemented this year was a business intelligence software that helps with this budgeting process, right? So we have all the data at our fingertips to look at how members are utilizing the club all the way down to their individual purchases on a day-to-day basis. So we have all that data at our fingertips to review departments' budgets as we're going through the process and make sure that we're making data-driven decisions, because oftentimes we can find periods of time or expenses that we can maybe mitigate to help offset some dues increase. So accountability through data, right? Sometimes the feedback that we get is, are we benchmarking? And we benchmark consistently, whether it's through the budget process or the capital process. We're always making sure to understand what the other clubs in the North Scottsdale market are doing, and are we in line with those acceptable thresholds for the other clubs that are in this market?
Yeah, I might just add, we're not just looking at data for clubs in North Scottsdale. We look at clubs throughout the country. We look at HOAs throughout the country. We look at HOAs here in North Scottsdale. We look at your local restaurants and golf courses. So our benchmarking isn't just for clubs or just for this market. We really do a really thorough job of benchmarking, so we have all the data in order to make thoughtful decisions. So one of the great things that we've been seeing with all this data is, well, first, we're back to our normalized operations. So obviously this last year was a little unique with the golf course closure. We shut down for lunch during the summer in Jax. And so 2026, we're back to normalized operations, and we'll show you a little bit of how that affects your dues in the coming slides.
Yeah, thanks for all your additional support this year. We know that operations changed, during the summertime, we only had dinner service a few nights a week. But what we saw, one of the reasons why we're better than budget is members still supported the club. You still showed up, you still, went to food and beverage, you know, fitness is through the roof, 40% more personal training this year than any other year we've ever had. So thank you for all your support in a year that has been kind of weird with the shutdown of the golf course. But as Desi said, next year we're getting back to normal operations. We're always focused on revenue and expenses to make sure that year-round experience remains the same. So whether you're here during the summertime or if you're here during the wintertime, it still feels like the same club that you show up to every day. Staffing, right? Always cognizant during the summertime when we are having periods of slower member usage, that we're balancing that with the responsible, accountable payroll, right? So how do we make sure that it still feels like the same club year round, but during the summertime, how do we pare down that payroll to make sure that we're not having additional bodies here when members aren't utilizing the club the most? So ways we've done that is making sure that employees have somewhere to go during the summertime, potentially whether it's the Northeast or the Midwest, somewhere for that summer club where they can continue to work and gain valuable experience, but that kind of offsets our payroll liabilities during the summer. So we're going to continue with the strategic plan, DH 2030, right? We came out with DH 2030 in 2025. We're excited about this fall season, working with the capital plan to talk about some of those projects that are coming up. There's going to be a capital survey and forum. You want to talk about that, Desi?
No, really excited. So one of the main focuses of the board over the past few months has been continuing with our efforts from our financial modeling. And so what you're going to see in the coming weeks is there is going to be a pretty extensive capital information booklet that's going to come out. And with that, we're going to have a survey just to ensure that we're doing the right processes, doing the right things, and the community supportive of our capital initiatives and DH 2030. Bob, anything you want to add to that?
No, just other than we really appreciate everybody's participation and feedback, because it's really everyone's community, and we need to know what everybody wants to do. We've got a list of projects, and they don't all necessarily get done, but we need to know which are most important to everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about this, and hopefully this booklet. What our big goal with this booklet is we want you to know what we know, right? There's so much information that we talk about in finance committee, within the board, as it relates to our financial assets and where we are in the market and where we want to be for our community. And so hopefully that as you dive into this booklet, it'll give you that information. We can't make it 1,000 pages, but it's one that it should give you a nice 30,000-foot overview of where we are, where we want to go, and hopefully get your feedback on if this is the right way that we're going. So we're excited about that.
All right, the moment we've all been waiting for. Here for dues for 2026.
All right, let's talk it through. So what we're looking at is a $125 dues increase. That's an operating dues increase, and we're going to talk through it so that you understand better where this $125 is coming from. First, about 3% of this is really just mostly related to inflation. We didn't do major, as I talked about the budgeting process. There's no major changes to our operation. We felt like last year was pretty great overall, and so we're just continuing with that, understanding that we're coming out of a golf course restoration, and we want to get members' feedback on that. And so we really haven't made too many modifications other then where the additional 3% is coming from, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Basically, what this amount is really an HOA focused area. What we got a lot of feedback from the membership is, you know, as we see Firewise getting cleaned up, the kind of the wow factor that gives the community. Obviously, we've invested a ton on our landscape throughout the community as well, not just the cleanup. And so, speaking with Cody and his team on what we really need in order to ensure that we're at least hitting expectations. Is this, and this is really a potential start. So we're going to put more focus in on the racket center, ensuring the assets down there, whether it's the clay courts, the grass courts, the landscape around there. We're going to put more focus in around the clubhouse. From my understanding, years ago, we used to have actually staff dedicated to the clubhouse, ensuring the landscape was maintained and beautiful throughout the year. Again, I just don't think we've been hitting the mark on some of the landscaping. Obviously, we have the front entry, as well as some of the areas around the club our community that have been cleaned up. So we're excited about this. We want to get members' feedback to see if we should keep going, because this is kind of a taster. It gets us about 50% of the way there from where we'd like to be. And if the community likes this investment, then we can continue to look at ways to thoughtfully invest in additional staffing. So
yeah, diving into some of those key drivers too for this dues increase for 2026, you know, putting the information in a little bit of a different perspective. So as the golf course is coming back online, there were some expenses that we didn't have this year related to golf course maintenance. For instance, the overseeding process, right? We didn't have those expenses. So as we're looking at the budget for next year and building those expenses back in, with a golf course that is now open year round, but then also has a few different agronomy practices with different greens, different punch schedules. So we're looking at about $300,000 just to get back to normal golf course expenses for a year.
But what I was going to say, but the great news is again, this is just getting back to normal things that we were able to save last year, so to speak. What the great thing is Cody and his team, this budget is actually $78,000 less than our last kind of full year open of 2024. So they've done a great job of looking for opportunities to be more thoughtful coming out of the restoration with your funds and save some money there. So although there is a dues impact, it's simply because we had that savings in 2025.
So that's about $45 per month. And then as Desi was just talking about the amenities expansion, amenity maintenance expansion, right? So adding the bodies in order to maintain the landscaping at the Desert Highlands standard, you know, that's about a $60 a month dues increase for those additional bodies to maintain that landscaping. So for golf and food and beverage, now we're open for an entire year. Food and beverage is open now during lunch times during the summer, and golf is open during the summer. So you're actually seeing a decrease in the subsidy for dues there by about $16 per month, because that revenue's coming back and we're managing those expenses to make sure that they're not exceeding the revenue that we're gaining back by having the golf course open year round. And then all the other departments combined, that's about a $36 dues impact, or a 1.3% increase in subsidy over the 2025 budget. So not seeing a whole lot of movement outside of these three main areas: golf course maintenance, amenities expansion, and then golf and food and beverage with the revenue open from year round. So let's talk about capital dues, Desi.
Capital dues. This is where we're really excited about this, actually, and we're excited to continue to get the community involved in this, what I feel like is going to be the most important conversation that we're going to have over the next 20 to 30 years. The next few months of talking about our capital dues and what we want to do to ensure that we're keeping Desert Highlands where it should be in the market and for our brand. Really excited. 150 is basically maxing out our current CC&Rs of where we can take it. The last couple of years, we've tried not to, like last year, we tried not to do any increase, knowing that we had the golf course project going on. but it's going to be an important conversation that we have over the next few months. And so management, the finance committee, and the board wanted to take it up to its max for now, and then have the more important conversation in the coming months.
So that's a total dues impact of $175 per month, 125 of that going to operations and 50 of it going to capital. Or what are the new total monthly dues? That'd be $2,200 a month for 2026.
So let's look at where that puts us in the market. And I think what some of us will see is we'll see a gap. And I think what really stands out to management when we look at this chart is in 2020, that gap was $215 to our nearest competitor. And what we've seen over the past 6 years is that gap is continuing to increase. We're actually getting further away from our competition, and it's one of those we might not be leveraging the number of members that we have in the best way in order to make the community what we see as from a potential standpoint. Not talking about operations here, talking about capital. And so we're going to be having that conversation. This is one of those conversations that we want to have over the next few months, and that it will be part of that survey and comprehensive booklet that you're going to see in the next few weeks.
Membership fee. So in February of 2025, the membership fee increased to $190,000. The finance committee and the board have been reviewing that data on a quarterly basis to see if any adjustments could be made. At the time, everybody was feeling like $200,000 was where we wanted to go from a membership fee perspective. The board and the finance committee just reviewed that going into the fourth quarter of this year. And so we hit a spot where we can get the membership fee up to $205,000. And so that's where it's headed on January 1st of 2026. We always said that we want to make sure that we're maximizing the membership fee responsibly so that we're collecting as much as we can from that revenue source, because it is about 90% of our current capital income comes from this membership fee.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll add there is this is exciting news, right? We've kind of topped out on this every time we discuss it, right? When we went to 190 was really our top based on those parameters we put in place when we did the CC&R change. Now we're able to raise it to 205, which is it's a great story. What it means is your house is worth more. The homes that are selling in Desert Highlands are worth more than they were even a year ago, or the homes that are selling, at least. And so it's exciting news, and we're excited to see that growth continues to be in a positive where we can continue to max out at a higher number.
So let's talk about the trends for 2026.
Well, we're really excited, as we talked about a little bit. Operating expenses, including labor, have really stabilized. We're not seeing what we saw in the past few years, but I just want to assure one of the things that we saw when we went through the strategic planning process and when we go through the surveys is this community deeply cares about its employees, and wants us to make sure that we're making sure that the employees are taken care of. So we are continuing to keep a focus on the cost of living in Phoenix. And just a reminder, we talked about this over the last few years, but if I just want to give a $1 increase to every one of our employees, that's a $300,000 a year hit to operation. That's for $1, which equates to a $45 a month increase in dues just to give every employee a $1 raise. So just puts it in perspective a little bit. So this is just, again, some of the history. I want to make sure that that we are continuing to look at this and continue. The board and management are really focused on making sure that those employees, especially those living paycheck to paycheck, are looked after and taken care of. Here's where our current kind of starting wages are and how they compare to some of the benchmarks around the community. So we're right there. This is the one that's really important. We've talked about it at the annual meeting, as well as all of our dues forums, as well as the MIT Living Wage Study is something that we look at every year when it comes out, and we take it really seriously. As you can see, that's stabilized. We've seen some incredible jumps over the past 4 or 5 years, and that's stabilized, which is great news. But as you can see, we still, are a little bit behind with some of our employees, and just want to let you know kind of where that goes. So If you looked at this a year ago, this is actually really good news. This number here of those who kind of are still being paid under what MIT considers a living wage was 66. This number has moved down to 52. So it's a great story. We're going to continue to focus in on it, but one of the things we want to make sure the members know as well is it's not just about pay. We do a ton of other stuff with the support of this community and the support of this board, from education. We have terrific benefits as well as a matching 401k. Our LEAD program continues to educate kind of those up and coming leaders in the Desert Highlands community to be their best and continue to drive their careers. Our ride share, we have 3 vans, and we just got some of the data for the third quarter. We saved about 91,000 miles of driving through our rideshare program, and we've saved our employees who take part in that rideshare program about $56,000 in the third quarter just by having that rideshare available to them, which is incredible, and we're really excited about that. We're trying to be as flexible as possible, make sure everybody can enjoy their families and enjoy quality of life, as well as we do feed all of our every employee has access to meals throughout the day in our employee dining facility every day. So things that we should really be proud of, and what I'll say is, from a cultural standpoint, we feel the support from the community, and we feel the support from the board in making sure that our team understands how much you appreciate their efforts. So thank you.
Yeah, 71% of the golf course maintenance staff participate in that rideshare program. And maybe one of the things that's not on here that should be is the foundation. So thanks to Deb Larson and all her leadership there and getting the foundation set up and off the ground, and looking forward to that concert this weekend so that they can tell you a little bit more about what the foundation's looking to do over the next year.
Yeah, thank you for everybody's support on that for sure.
So one of the required notices that we have through the CC&Rs is the capital expenditure limit. And what we're seeing for next year is, with the CPI increase, the capital expenditure limit is going to $3,119,717. And so as we reflect on, capital assets as a whole, just like the operating side and payroll, some of the costs for capital assets have some reduced, but mainly stabilized across the board, but they're at a significantly higher cost than our original investment. And so when we look at how this capital expenditure limit impacts financials for the club, right? We can only invest at a certain level that is equal to CPI. But if we look at another index, like the construction and cost index, which is not apples to apples, but closer related to some of the projects like the lower level when we're doing a renovation there, or some of the renovations that you may be having going on in your home. That percentage has gone up 45% since 2020. So just to kind of talk about what that would mean. So if we changed our CC&Rs to be more in line with the construction cost index, we'd be seeing a replacement capital expenditure limit at $3.6 million, as opposed to the $3.1 million with the CPI increase. So this is just another thing that we're talking about in the finance committee and board, making sure that we're replacing assets as they're depreciating, but could have the potential to defer projects or defer investment just based on it not increasing at the same rate that the costs are for capital replacement.
And these are going to be great conversations. Like I said, for our capital forums and the survey and the information, is that we want the whole community to be part of this conversation, so we can get your feedback. Very excited about it.
Yeah, we plan on continuing the same engagement for 2026, right? So we'll have numbers with Nick. The first session will be early December. So look forward to seeing you hopefully in person. Love the numbers with Nick sessions. Always got great questions, and love meeting with members and hopefully helping explain some about the finance process here at the association. Capital Forum, stay tuned. It'll be in January. We'll have a capital forum and talk about the 5-year capital plan that'll be posted on the website. But then we'll talk about the survey and the projects that are coming up and kind of what's on the horizon for the next 5 years. We're going to continue to refine our quarterly financial statements. Bob, Kenny, and I all work together to make sure that the letter and the financial statements represent something that's easy to read, has all the information, and explain some processes along the way, right? The capital process has been in every issue of the quarterly financial statements, because that's such a big part of our financial model here at the club, is making sure that every dollar of capital is wisely spent. And so we look forward to providing some more updates there over the next year. Open house. This is one that I'm probably most excited about. I think when we take our finance committee and board members through the open house process, and they get to walk through each area of the operation and see what our department heads go through and what they're thinking about. And the department heads get to kind of present their area of the club and some of the challenges that they have or things that they're working on. And it just kind of opens a perspective of how complex our organization is, both from an operational and capital perspective, and how great the professionals that we have here at the association are of running their individualized areas and being the professional in that area. And so I think it's a great process that we want to open up to all members, so that you can go down to golf course maintenance and see the $5 million worth of equipment, and you can see all, their building and how they organize. The amount of technology in golf course maintenance really opens up your perspective of how much of a science it is. And those guys are really scientists that grow grass in their day-to-day lives. It's amazing to see. We want to share that with everybody, not only because it's fun to learn, but it's also great to see these department heads and they get excited about their operations, and just opens that line of communication between members and the department heads to ask the questions whenever something comes up. So Desi, let's talk about transparency for a minute.
I love transparency. This is, most of you probably know who Simon Sinek is. Transparency means not necessarily sharing every detail, but making sure that we're providing the meaningful context for how we're making these decisions. So we always like to say, just remember, we have over 1,000 members. We have 1,000 members with potentially different thoughts. What should be communicated? What shouldn't? What level of detail? We'll do our best. But just know that when you have questions, I'm always available. I'm pretty open book. You might not always love my answers, but I promise I'll be honest. Nick's available. Obviously, we have our committee members and our board members available as well. And you can always, what I always say is first line of defense is that department head. Go to the department head. Let them take some pride, as Nick was mentioning, in answering some of your questions about their operation or about why we do certain things you do. Come to me, like I said, whether you like our answers or don't like our answers, you're always invited to come to committee meetings, get to know what the committee's talking about and what's on their plate. And we also have the board meetings available as well. So just know you have all this at your disposal should you have any questions or concerns, or just want to come and say thank you to the board and those committees for giving their time to make the community a better place. That's always a good thing too. And
if you have an extra 3 or 4 hours next Wednesday, we'll be going over the capital budget in the finance committee meeting. So come on by.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for your time. We really appreciate all of your support. And should you have any questions, reach out. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family.
Thanks, guys.